Welcome to the Head Shepherd podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO here at NextGen Agri International, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, thank you to our two fantastic sponsors for continuing to sponsor this podcast. MSD Animal Health is perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia and for their Allflex range across the world, with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Honiger is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Honiger team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now it's time to get on with this week's episode. Welcome back to Head Shepherd. You're the Ferg. This week we have Hamish Best on the show. We'll get to that shortly, but before we get into that, this week we've had Emma Pettigrew contribute to the Hub. She's written an article on mating ewe lambs or mating ewe hoggets, depending on what you call them, where you live. Obviously getting those 7 or 8 month, 9 month old ewe lambs pregnant. Emma's PhD was around that subject. She did that through Massey with good folks like Paul Kenyon, who have spent a lot of their career, understanding the biology around mating ewes at that younger age. So, yeah, Emma's got lots to contribute in a great article. So jump on the Hub and have a read. Again, that's thehub.nextgenagri.com, free to sign up and get newsletters sent to you so you don't miss anything that we add on there. Really, really loving the team putting their brains into action and writing consistently great articles for the Hub. So, yeah, really recommend jumping in there. So, yeah, again, this week, Hamish Best. Hamish is farming just out of Wellington on the North Island of New Zealand. He's a finalist of the Xander McDonald Award of the New Zealand finalists. He'll find out how he goes on that front in March at the summit. But, yeah, and you'll see in the next few weeks, we'll have all those 3 finalists from Australia. And then we'll get around to the Aussies as well. Some really inspiring people. So Hamish runs a business called Conscious Valley Lamb or Conscious Valley Meats. Anyway, he's selling lamb and beef straight into the Wellington market at a Sunday market, and as well as applying some restaurants. So we talked to Hamish about that business, a bit about his background. I think you'll enjoy the chat. I hope you do. Talk soon. Welcome, Hamish Best, to Head Shepherd.
Thanks, Mark. It's good to be here.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for taking the time. You've just had an op, so you're jammed inside, so it's a good time to talk to a farmer when they can't get out and do something.
Yeah.
I guess, a couple of reasons we're talking today, one of them being you're a finalist in the Xander McDonald Award, which I've got a little bit to do with, and which is, I guess you're early on in that process yet, and we've got the summit coming up in March, which will be when we work out which of the 3 end up winning. But great, congratulations again on getting to the finals of that award.
Thanks. Yeah, looking forward to the summit and getting to meet everyone that's involved.
Yeah, no, it's a great network that we talk about as a family, definitely. But I guess we want to talk today about what got you there, really, or why you impressed the judges. But which is your story of what you're up to now. But maybe if we just said, I guess you just let listeners know where you are and what you do, and maybe a bit of how you got to where you are.
Yeah, well, I guess my story, I'm a sheep and beef farmer based 20 minutes out of the capital city of Wellington. We're farming a couple of thousand ewes with replacements and about 150 cattle. Our farm is quite unique in that it's very close to the capital city, which is a positive and a negative. We have a very active market potentially right in our doorstep. But on the flip side, we are quite a long way away from a lot of agricultural infrastructure, trucking, contractors, sharing contractors. Everyone's sort of 2.5 hours away instead of being just down the road. We utilise that locality to and we've started a red meat brand. So we're doing our best to market as much of our beef and lamb as possible into the city and sell direct to consumer.
Yeah, excellent. So, and I guess for people who don't know the geography very well, it's a fairly mountainous region, and so Well, as the crow flies, it's probably not very far away from lots of other agriculture, but there's a fairly nasty mountain range that precludes most travel around the place.
Yeah, our closest rural supply store is Martinborough, which is about an hour and a half away across the Rimataka Hills, which I know for people across the ditch, an hour and a half isn't too much of a drive, but for us Kiwis, it's quite a wee way. And the farm itself, we're on pretty steep hill country. My partner's Irish, and she calls the hills that surround us mountains, but for us they're just steep hills, especially for where you are down around Molesworth markets. These are just little baby hills, so it's pretty steep. We have about 15 to 20% of the farm that we can put into crop or cultivate, which we have basically started a plan of getting as much of that as possible into lucerne, so that we have really strong springs and summer land finishing potential. But we don't really like to cultivate anything because we have some of the best wind in the world. So that's typically why we direct drill everything. And yeah,
Wellingtonians try and claim that it's not windy, but everyone else in the world thinks it's pretty windy. So it's obviously stuck between on the edge of a gap of two islands that are both going to funnel the wind through pretty well. It's set up to blow wind.
Oh yeah, we catch it from both directions. The southerly is always pretty tough because most of the trees are hammered by the nor'wester 80% of the time. So when we get a big southerly, we really notice it.
Maybe just quickly go through, I guess you went away, did other things, and then back to the farm. Maybe what you did, but I guess what drew you back to the farm.
Yeah, so I grew up on the farm that I'm currently working and living on, but Mum and Dad told me to go away and learn some new skills. So I went up to Massey, studied agriculture up there, and found a real interest in pastures and agronomy. I remember saying to my honours supervisor at the time, I'd love to have a job that has a little bit to do with sales, but has a little bit to do with animal production. And that led me down the path of working for Agricom as a Eastern North Island sales manager. So a lot of that role was working along rural retailers and farmers and basically coming up with agronomy plans or cropping plans that would help maximise the profits of their business. I then did a lot of agronomy work for PGG Wrightson's in Central Hawke's Bay, which was an amazing part of the world. There's just so much going on there, from dairy, arable cropping, a lot of venison and velvet production. It was really an exciting place to do agronomy. And then through that job, ended up reconnecting with Agricom, basically back over in Australia, and did product development for the Australian business for about 4 years based in Melbourne, which was also pretty cool because I got to travel the eastern seaboard of Australia from as far south as Hobart and across to sort of Kangaroo Island, South Australia, all the way up to the New England and Armidale. Anywhere temperate, we did a lot of work in, so that was a really eye-opening experience, and I got had a lot of joy out of working over there. Then I went travelling, saw parts of the Northern Hemisphere, Africa, more on a social, fun travelling type experience, and then came back to the farm and got into Conscious Valley, which is our red meat brand.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, you had a good look around, which is great. I think, a lot of people tell their sons or daughters to disappear and do something else for a while to get that experience, because coming back and working at home is often better if you've seen the way it works in the other areas, because there's always something you can steal from other people. What so Conscious Valley is your own brand, and I guess as you've already pointed out, being close to a major population is probably I was going to say the only, but one of the key ways that sort of starting your own brand can work, because you've got access to that consumer set. And I guess what are you now selling and how are you selling it, and what's that look like?
So we're selling prime lamb and prime beef into the Wellington farmers markets, so direct to the end consumer. But we're also dealing with about 10 restaurants in Wellington City and up the Kapiti coast. So it's been a really interesting experience for me personally. The first year of farming was a challenge to learn how to do another job. And when we started the red meat brand, it was it was amazing how much energy I got from having that once or twice a week interaction with people in the city and selling the product that we work so hard for all year round every week. It was a really amazing positive feedback loop. But we just started with a butchery trailer. We sell every Sunday fresh, refrigerated, prime red meat to probably the one of the more left of centre markets in New Zealand. But it's an amazing community that we have down there, and I would say 80% of the people that we sell meat to every week. So yeah, it's been an incredible process so far, and the goal is to, I guess, build a brand that Wellingtonians are proud of, that when they have people come visit them from out of town or from overseas, they think we have our own really local, delicious red meat brand, and we want to share it with you, so that Wellingtonians aren't eating Hawke's Bay lamb or Canterbury lamb. You know, we've got enough meat here to feed a lot of people, so we don't need to be exporting it all over the world, and B, importing other regions' lamb into the area.
Excellent. So, yeah, there'll be plenty of people listening to that. They won't like the sound of that, but obviously, yeah, I think it's an interesting developing world how people are switching to local and keen to be more conscious of what they eat, which is exactly why you've named your brand what you have, no doubt. What are you? I guess what's been the most surprising of that experience in terms of? I guess we all think, yeah, Wellingtonians. There'll be all sorts of stereotypes we could make up there, I suppose. But yeah, I guess what's that experience been like?
It's been fantastic. You always have that little voice in the back of your mind saying, "Oh, this might not work here," because of what you hear in the media and etc. But the reality is, there's still a massive population of people who enjoy eating high quality red meat, and I guess for me, the thing that really motivated me to keep to ignore that little voice was during the pandemic, living in Melbourne in Fitzroy North. You'd go into the supermarkets, and when everyone was bulk buying and the shelves were empty, the meat shelves were stripped bare, the toilet paper was stripped bare, all these shelves for these essential products were completely empty, but all of the synthetic meat options or the vegan meat options were all fully stocked. So it gave me confidence that people still valued meat and red meat, and you hear a lot of noise about all of these products, which probably affects us as farmers, but the silent majority keep buying high quality product.
Yeah, for sure. One of the fantastic parts of that business, as you already talked about, is that energy you get from your customers and having that interaction. And I mean, if you can summarise how that goes, are they there because they like buying from you? Are they there because they like the welfare that you stand behind, or is it the quality, or do you have any sort of sense of what brings them back week on week?
I could probably split that into two groups. The chefs want quality and they want consistency, and they come back week on week for that quality. We're handpicking every lamb that goes through the butchery, so we're not necessarily doing it on weight. We're doing it on fat cover and maintaining a consistently prime product all the way through the year. And in terms of the farmers market customers, I would say it's a double-pronged approach, where they do definitely keep coming back because it's a quality product that they're buying, but there's also the social aspect of coming to the farmer and having that interaction on a weekly basis. And Caroline jokes that half of the time people come just for the chat, just to have a conversation, and then as a side thing they buy some meat. So yeah, there's a little bit of both there.
Yeah, and I think as you've sort of already touched on, like I live in a big city in Christchurch, or big in New Zealand terms anyway, almost 400,000 people or something. And yeah, and I guess we hear I don't know, we go to farmer conferences and hear about what the consumers think or don't think or whatever, but all of our friends are in town, are city dwellers and whatever, and I've never heard a bad word spoken about farming, really. And obviously that's been your experience as well. Have you had any sort of times where people have come up bashing your caravan, or it's all been positive?
I joke a couple of times that there's activists parking in our spot, but we're at the markets. But the only real negative interactions I've had have been online. So people will always hide behind a keyboard, but it's in person they don't really have any problems.
Have you watched the recent MLA ad, the comment section?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I actually was waiting for the MLA. They have a big national lamb ad every year, don't they?
Yeah. That's the. This one is that one this year.
That is it. Okay. Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah.
It's normally released on Australia Day, but this year it was out of it earlier. But anyway, cool. I guess if we get into the farming system, because lots of our listeners are farmers, how does getting your head around having that consistency, like week on week, having something to go off farm? Are you lambing more often, or are you just it's just how you grow them out, or what's that look like, sort of nuts and bolts?
Yeah, I guess you've always got that good old fashioned bell curve distribution of when lambs come ready. So we have a big bulk of our lambs are prime from that December through to March period. So we're still selling probably 50% of our lambs commercially export as normal farms would. And then basically for me to be able to maintain a prime killer mob throughout the year, I've got to run the farm at a slightly lower wintering capacity to normal. So we could probably comfortably winter another ewe per hectare if we were solely focused on being a hill country sheep beef breeding farm. But we've made the decision to pull that sort of stock unit per hectare back just so we can maintain enough area to fatten lambs and have enough area for keeping our cattle prime as well.
Is there shaky weeks, like where you're like not sure where
we're not sure where the lambs are going to come
where
from?
Next week's coming from?
It's a big planning operation in terms of, like, last year we had such a dry spring, dry summer, but I forage brassicas in for the summer while we were building our lucerne platform, and this year the lucerne has just been worth its weight in gold for maintaining a solid crop of lambs. Instead of drafting a line of 250, which we could have done about a week ago, I probably sent more like 180 and just kept those 70 to just know that I've got a buffer for the next month.
Yeah.
So then if we go dry, I've still got a month's buffer. But by the time you get through the end of the next month, you're going to have more prime lambs coming available. So the system is definitely slightly changed. But our lambing dates, we have our terminals lamb the 25th of July and our maternals lamb on the 20th of August. And because we have going to have about 30 hectares of lucerne in this time next year, I'm going to lamb 250 hoggets. So they'll be exciting because I've only been back on the farm for 2 years, so they'll be our maternals crossed with our desired terminals, and the meat that comes off them should be really nice.
Yeah. And that'll produce a third lambing date.
Probably the 20th of September will be the hoggets.
And they'll be slightly slower growing, so should meet that sort of winter market for.
Well, later born. I will lamb the hoggets onto lucerne so that the mums, as turtles, get up to a good mating weight.
Yeah.
That'll be, again, it's when at the moment it's easy. Well, relatively easy because we're talking about quite low volumes. We're talking 15, 20 lambs a week through the butchery trailer. But as we grow and we get into a slightly, hopefully, bigger scale, that's when I can see a few potential growing pains.
Yeah. And have you thought about what that model looks like? Is that sort of sort of contracting neighbours to supply a few lambs, or is it expanding elsewhere? Or what's that?
Yeah, I think it's setting up a conscious valley protocol in that farms have to tick, like a say, just as an example, like a Fat Plus system.
Yeah.
So they meet all of our supply criteria, and then just working out whether we pay them schedule price plus a premium or along those lines. But we're one out of 6 farms in this valley, and so total ewe numbers for the area are probably sitting around 12 to 14,000, and we all get along really well. So I can see the growth there happening by just buying lambs off neighbours and paying them a slight premium for it, and then we can grow Conscious Valley without me having to do too much more farming, because you can only farm so many sheep without getting too many people involved.
Yeah, I guess you're closer to the product than most, having, like, you sort of see it literally sitting in the butcher shop or on the shelf at the farmers market, and get that feedback from consumers. Is there, like, while we all, I mean, it's awesome to be consistent, but the reality is that's hard. Is there weeks where people go, I was like, do you get a brassica taint, or do you pick up stuff that maybe we wouldn't pick up when we're just sending lambs off and never see where they end up?
Yeah, I get to look at every chop that we sell, and you can almost pick what lamb those have come off. It is really interesting watching the meat change from a spring milk lamb through the seasons to virtually a hogget by the end of October. You do notice when you do get it. When I get it, I notice when I get it wrong in terms of the lambs that we pick. But I'm able to have like a pretty open conversation with someone. If they're buying 6 chops and they're not up to my standard, I'll just discount them to them, and they're pretty grateful for the honesty.
Cool. And then, so the beef system, that's so some beef as well, and they're all produced at home as well.
Yeah, so we've got an Angus cow herd with a few shorthorns and speckled parks, basically, because when I was setting up the farm, they were what were available at a sort of smart purchase price for young cows, and that made us look into a few different breeds. So we looked into whether we put Angus, Hereford, or speckled park bulls over them, and I guess from a marketing perspective, we were able to differentiate ourselves by going down that speckled park route. So most everything that's been born in the last, we've had 2 calvings, have had speckled park fathers, and the speckled park bulls meat will be available in about 6 to 8 months' time. But in the meantime, we've had Angus heifers that we've been fattening, and we just take them through to about a 275 to 325 kilo carcass, and as fat as we can get them.
Cool. Fascinating stuff, mate. And congratulations again on getting all that together in not a very long period of time. It's going to be interesting to watch how it evolves over time. And so you would see it expanding beyond Wellington, or you are just going to own Wellington? Is that?
I like to crawl before I can run. So once the short term goal would be Wellington based, but there's no reason why the model can't be replicated in different parts of the country. Part of what I'd love to do is mentor or help people do the same thing, because there's a few tricks you learn along the way that can help things run more efficiently, and it's always hard to, I guess, take that first step forward and run with the idea. Once we've dominated, or once we've got a good market share in Wellington, and we're using up a lot of our local lamb and beef, it'd be great to move the model elsewhere.
Yeah. I guess the obvious question that everyone would love me to ask is, is it like you drop a ewe per hectare? you're going to have to make that money up somewhere? Or is it like you can extract value through these niche markets? Obviously, you wouldn't be doing it otherwise, or are you sort of, is it a romantic and economic?
I guess last year when we were getting paid a $6 schedule, it was very easy to make the retail business pay.
Yeah.
But this year it's obviously been a little bit tougher in the lamb space, but even now we're still able to extract probably double the value of a lamb as profit, not as gross sales. So yeah, it's still very much worthwhile doing. And then on the beef front, even though the beef schedule's at record prices, well, from what I've heard around the place, we're still able to extract good value out of beef as well. So it's definitely worthwhile.
Cool. And the final question we like to ask, and I'm doing this without notice, sorry, but it's what's the last thing you changed your mind about?
What is the last thing I changed my mind about?
Yeah.
Just on anything. Geez, that really is. I had a smoothie for breakfast instead of poached eggs.
Yeah, right. First time.
Well, I like to poach eggs when I've got a bit of time up my sleeve, but I was like, today I'll just have a smoothie. I'm not doing much, so I should probably keep it healthy. Yeah,
good. It's tough question. We normally give you a bit of notice on that one, which you didn't have the liberty of, but yeah, thanks again for your time, mate, and all the best on quickly recovering from, was it knee or ankle or?
Knee, yeah. I had my meniscus I tore my meniscus and they just fixed it up. So
right.
I was close to changing my mind on that because it felt quite good, but I think my 45-year-old self will appreciate this.
Yeah. Putting the effort in now. 100%. Having my 48-year-old self taking it for a run this morning would have appreciated something, I think. But, awesome, mate. Look forward to catching up at the summit in the Goldie, and all the best. And thanks very much for your time.
No, thanks a lot. It's great to catch up, and we'll see you in a month's time.
Shall do. Thanks again to Heineke, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Thank you to MNSD Animal Health and Norflex Livestock Intelligence. They offer an extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. We thank both of these companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.